Hello. Okay. Start again. I'm not going to start with a trilogy. So this morning's, so Baba is really like highlighting that if we're having tapasya, tapasya leads to purity. And purity is such a wholesome aspect of ourselves. You know, it's like returning to that divinity again. And I like how Mohini Ben has often emphasized this whole aspect that the core of our being is divine, because we are God's children, you know. And so the purpose of tapasya is to help us return to that core divinity that's within us. And so what are the facets of purity? And so Baba's taking this aspect of truth, and truth in so many different ways. So, you know, one element of truth is, you know, Baba often tells us that when there is truth, then there's royalty. And you know, like he said last week, when there's royalty, then I don't engage my intellect in small, insignificant things. I remain in the unlimited. When there's royalty, then there's a kind of a dignity with which the soul carries itself, but also the soul treats others with dignity. And I think that's what royalty is all about. It's not about wearing crowns and robes, but it's about carrying yourself with such dignity, such self-respect, of knowing who you are, knowing what your attainments are, but you also treat others with that same level of dignity, you know. And then the other aspect that Baba's also raising, and I liked this, that when there is truth, then truth is very transparent. You know, when something is true, it's there. And Baba's saying there's no mixing. Now, how do I know I'm mixing things and I'm not really saying things as they are? How do I know this mixture? When you have doubts, yeah. The result is not okay, yeah. There's some desire inside it. When I'm mixing things, there's expansion. You know, when someone's not like 100% truthful, they make a long story about it, you know. They keep justifying it or defending it, or they try to, there's a lot of expansion, unnecessary expansion. So when there's truth, then it's very essential. There's no expansion. You know, truth is very transparent. And why is it so important to check that in ourselves? Because only when there is that level of truthfulness can there be trust. You know, when you see something for what it is, you may not like someone, but you know what you're going to get from them in a way, you can trust it, you know. And when there's trust, then there's relationship. There's no relationship if there's no trust. It's a pretense. It's a pretense, and eventually it ends up giving a lot of sorrow. So truth is very transparent, and the way I know I'm being transparent is I can be essential. There's no need for expansion. Very often, I like how Ken Bai says, you know, that in the golden age, we won't use most of the words. There's no adjectives in the golden age, because I don't have to exaggerate on anything, you know. I don't have to say, oh, this is so amazing, it's awesome. All of those words won't exist, you know. It just is. It's natural, you know. And so all this added ons, you know, it's because I'm moving away from essence. And when I'm moving away from essence, I'm this mixture. There's a mixture of desire, a mixture of ego, or mixture of fear, or whatever the case may be. So that's another element. And Baba says, you know, that when there's that kind of truthfulness, then the soul naturally dances. You know, this cheerfulness. And he's saying today, it's not just the cheerfulness of the face, but the heart is also cheerful. Because sometimes we can put on a smile, but is my heart smiling? And I always feel that it's like the opposite of truth is what? Lies, dishonesty, it's fear. The opposite of truth is fear. I only won't be truthful because I'm afraid. I lie or I'm dishonest or whatever because I need to hide, you know? And so when I'm being truthful in a way, as Baba's highlighting it, then I'm absolutely free. You know, I can be anyway, do whatever I need to do. There's nothing that the soul will hold itself back by, you know, because the ego thrives in hiding. The ego thrives in defending, you know. The ego can't survive in the light of truth, in a way. So just to check the self and to see, you know, what aspect of myself am I blocking or not facing in a way. And Baba, you know, Baba's definitions are always so clear and to the point. He says, truth is truth, you know, and he says that it's true in a sense, it's factual, it's evident, but he also says it's eternal. So when I'm, you know, in a way to look at it, that connecting with truth is connecting with that which is eternal. So in the drama, things happen and we all hold a particular perspective of drama. And a perspective of drama is not the absolute truth. It's a perspective. It's one lens in a way. So we always have to use our third eye of knowledge in a way, always get back to what has Baba been telling me through the Murlis, so that it gives me a way of looking through my own limited perspective to the drama itself. And yesterday when Kenbai was reading the Murli, I loved what he said. He said, everything is perfect. It may not be good, but it's perfect. And what is it perfect by? It's perfect according to the drama. And many times what's happening is we want the drama to change in a way. We fight the perfection of the drama. But if we accept the perfection of the drama, then we align ourselves with truth. We align ourselves with the deeper principles that Baba is teaching us with. And another aspect that Baba takes up when he's talking about this royalty of truth, and he's saying with his royalty, there's reality, you know? And one of the things he's sharing as well is that the quality of love of a soul that's aligned with truth is that they'll be very loving, but they will also be very detached. Any form of attachment, again, the slight fear there, fear of loss, you know, fear of that dependency, whatever. But he's saying it'll be deep love and great detachment. And I like the Hindi word that Baba uses for detachment, nyara, because nyara, it's not that I distance myself. That's not what detachment is, but it's that kind of being uninfluenced and I remained extraordinary. I'm not part of it. I remain extraordinary in that way, above, but being able to serve from above in that regard. So, and when there's detachment in that sense, love is true. Without detachment, there isn't real love. And without real love, there cannot be detachment. It's like the two are the two sides of the same coin. And finally, the last aspect that Baba is taking up, and this is also linked in with this aspect, that when a soul is truthful and royal, then that soul will be full. There's no desire, the many shades of desires that we end up having. But I think the sign of desire, as Baba highlighting today, is that you don't get into the questions of why, what, how. It's almost like that kind of fullness internally gives me the capacity to accept the perfection of the drama. So there's a lovely link in that regard, that when there's that kind of truthfulness, that when the soul's aligned with that level of truthfulness, then there's that royalty. And with that royalty, there's a natural stability. I don't make effort to be stable, but it's like the product of staying in alignment with that truth. And so, yeah, many, many aspects that Baba took up. So, yeah, it's like he's going into a lot of depth of what truth and honesty is about. So it's the Murli, the original date, the 11th of December, 1991. Manners of reality, truth, are real royalty. Today, Bab Dada is seeing his elevated family. That is, he is seeing his royal family. Throughout the entire cycle, you elevated souls are the most royal souls. God is telling you this, hey? This is not just somewhere that you're reading. God is telling you this. Throughout the entire cycle, you elevated souls are the most royal souls. In your eternal form of souls, the Adi form, you are the most elevated royal souls. As those points of light in Paramdam. And in your original form, in the form of the deity souls, you are also royal. The royal family who have a right to the royal kingdom. Then the third one is, so the eternal form, the original form, and then in your worthy of worship form, you deity souls are worshipped with so much royalty. None of the souls of other religions and no political leaders are worshipped in such a royal way. In all three forms, the eternal, the original, and the worthy of worship form, no one is as royal as you. Because you souls have the royalty of purity. So it's not a royalty because of birth. It's a royalty because of the quality of purity in the soul. Neither has there been, nor will there be, such completely pure souls in the entire cycle. This is the speciality of purity. This is why people only sing this praise in front of the deity souls. You are completely viceless. They do not sing this praise for the righteous souls of any other religion. It's only a deity soul that was completely viceless. Even the prophet souls, they had to work at it a bit. People just sing praise of the elevated actions, kirti, of the deity souls. That is, they only praise their elevated purity. There is no singing of praise, kirtan, singing devotional songs in any other religion. The system of singing with the sound of instruments playing music is just for the deity souls and the Shaktis of the confluence age. This is the attainment of the method of complete purity. This is why no other soul has such spiritual royalty as yours. Check to what extent you have imbibed such royalty of purity. The most elevated sign of spiritual royalty, that is of reality, is truth. Just as the original form of souls is truth. Truth means imperishable as well as truth. So Baba's definition of truth, it will be constant, eternal, imperishable, as well as true, factual. You especially sing praise of the Father as the truth, the benefactor, and the most beautiful one. So Baba's always remembered as Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram, the one who's the truth, the benevolent one, and the beautiful one. It is said, Shiva is the truth, God is truth. So the praise of the Father is the truth, that of the truth. In the same way, royalty means reality. I think in another way, a word that we're more familiar with, instead of the word reality, is authenticity. It's natural. It's, just itself. Baba's rhyming royalty and reality. Truth is never mixed up. Truth is never made up or mixed up with anything. Whether in words, actions, or relationships and connections, there is nothing made up or mixed up. In plain language, Babdada calls this honesty. Royal souls are those whose attitude, vision, words, and activities will all be true. It isn't that they would have one thing in their attitude and some other mixed intention in their words. That is not called royalty or reality. Babdada sees and hears the wonderful activities of the children nowadays. Many children are very clever. What are they clever at? At making up stories and mixing things. Why? Why we like making up stories? Because they have been listening to many stories that have been made up and mixed up since the Copper Age. It entertains us, you see. So they allow that sanskar to emerge even in their Brahman life. They make up a story with such a beautiful form that they make something completely false true, and they prove the truth to be false. This is called being one thing internally and something else externally. So would you call this royalty? Is this reality? Is this royalty? It is not. The royalty of such purity is reality. This is one sign of royalty. If you do not have this sign, then understand that you do not have the royalty of purity yet, or that you only have it to a certain percentage, not fully. One of the things with the daddies was because of their own stage of purity, souls could not really lie in front of them. Even if someone went to say something, whatever, and they'll start with their story, but then it ends very quickly. It's like, so daddy will say, bolo, bolo, kya hai? And then, it's like, no, daddy, it's okay. And it's their stage of purity that they always brought things to essence, but in their presence as well, it was like their vibration was such. And daddy would sometimes just say, okay, samjha. She'll pick it up, she'll get the gist of it. And that's the whole thing of, like, when there's a kind of truthfulness, it's very clear what needs to happen next. When there isn't truthfulness, then there's confusion. So that's why Baba's highlighting it. The second sign of reality that Babdada constantly tells you about is that when there is truth, the soul continues to dance. true souls will constantly continue to dance in happiness. Their happiness will not be less at some times and greater at other times. Day by day, at every moment, their happiness continues to increase. This sign of reality is that they constantly dance in happiness. You speak of the eyes and the features. So then the meaning of royalty is that you will be constantly cheerful in your hearts and also in your features. Not just external cheerfulness, but cheerfulness even in your heart. A cheerful heart and a cheerful face, both should be cheerful. You can't even say, my heart is cheerful, but your face is long. That also doesn't work. It has to be both. Sister Carol, she used to tease and she used to say, are you happy? And I would say, yes. Then she would say, let your face know about it. So it has to be both head and heart. It often happens that your heart is not cheerful, but at the time of having to be extroverted, you show a smiling face. This is called being cheerful temporarily. But you should have a permanently cheerful heart and a cheerful face. The royalty and reality of purity means that your heart is imperishable and your face is cheerful all the time. Check yourself. Do not begin to check others, but check yourself. Such royal souls are much loved by Bab Dada and the entire Brahmin family. So what is the speciality of a really loved soul? According to the systems of today, you become attracted by someone for whom you have a lot of love. In your language, not Baba's language, in your language, you call this attachment. Because you have love for that one, there will be attachment. Will there not? So what does attachment mean? It means a dependency. However, if someone is truly loved, the sign of such a real and royal love is that the more love you have, the more detached you will be. A nice way of really knowing whether it's true love or it's attachment. When there's true love, it empowers. It gives space for the other to grow into who they really are. It sort of offers an encouragement. But when there's attachment creates dependency. It's expectation and dependency. It's like you mine, and you can only be something if I'm there for you. But when there's true love, it's like enables that one to grow into their own. Attachment makes them dependent on me. So to always see in my relationships, to support is important, but do I create dependency? Because I'm actually handicapping the other if I'm creating a dependency. But when there's true love, it's like it allows the other to grow. So the detachment is you give the space for the learning that the other needs to have. You don't do it for them. You show them how and you let them do it. However, if someone is truly loved, the sign of such real and royal love is that the more love you have, the more detached you will be. Therefore, neither that one himself develops extra attachment, nor do others develop attachment for that one. This is known as real love, perfect love. That soul will be cheerful and will also attract others, but will not attract others in a limited way. So what is the sign of someone who is real and royal? He has deep love and great detachment. Another speciality of royalty is that that soul will not have the sanskar of asking for anything, whether physical or subtle. Why is that? A royal soul is always completely full. One is to be full externally, full of physical things, full of physical facilities. And the other is to be full in the mind. Someone who is full in the mind will never feel he is lacking anything. Even if he is not full of physical things or facilities, because his mind is full. And when there's internal contentment, it's like you don't feel physical lack. Yeah, santosh, contentment. Even if something is not there, he will experience it to be there. And when Jayanti Ben was sharing, Daddy came from a fairly big center in India. Baba had made her in charge of Pune. She also went to Amritsar, all of those places. The Daddy Janki had first started centers. And then Baba sent her to London. So from having a class of 100 or 200 or whatever, there she was in this tiny apartment. And she had to sleep on a door. They used the door as a base, and then they used to put a mattress on top of it. But Daddy never once had even the thought, what did I leave behind? Like the lack of facility was never a question in her mind. So from that, it was really 2 rooms they rented. They had to share a bathroom with a family that lived upstairs. That was the starting of London when Daddy was there. And if you look at what Baba has now, Oxford and all of that, it was like really that fullness within that manifested the fullness outside. There's never a question, what did I leave behind? Yeah. The royal soul is always completely full. So however, no matter how full a soul may be with physical things and facilities, if his mind is not full, he will never consider himself to be full. Even though that soul has everything, he will never consider himself to be full. Because of his desires, such a soul constantly sings the song, I want, I want. At all times, that soul sings the song. So the royal way of saying I want is this should happen, and that should be done, and that should be received. This should change. That soul constantly sings these songs, whereas a soul who is full in the mind constantly sings the song, I have found, I have attained. To say this should happen, this should be done, are the sanskars of royal asking. It's subtle, isn't it? It's like how we play things in our heads. It's interesting. One is to think for the sake of unlimited service, where you think this should happen, this should be done. So having that kind of focus for service is one thing. But to think about wanting something for the unlimited, for the sake of service, is a different matter from having the thought of wanting some limited attainment for the self, which is royal asking. The desire for name, the desire for respect, the desire for honor, the desire for love, to want to be consulted, all of those are limited matters. A royal soul does not even have a trace of the sanskar of asking. Do you understand what royalty is? In your chart of tapasya, check all of this. Baba's asking us to check because these are the things that prevent us from having tapasya. They're the ones that interfere. Don't just check, I did not insult anyone, I did not get angry, but check all of these things and then claim a prize. The meaning of tapasya is to become completely pure. Check to what extent your personality of purity and your royalty of purity are practical. Such souls are known as Tapasvi Raj, royal Tapasvis. So do you understand what royalty is? Both the face and the activity of a royal soul will give the experience of the manners of truth. In any case, royal souls are known as goddesses of manners. They're speaking, they're walking, they're eating and drinking, sitting and standing. Their every action will automatically reveal the manners and the truth. So Baba is playing with two Hindi words here. Manners in Hindi is sabhyata and truth is satyata. So where there's that truthfulness, there will be manners of truth. It should not be, so when there's truth, then it should not be that you prove the truth. And yet you do not have any manners. Many children say, what we tell Baba, Baba knows all our stories. Ne? Many children say, I don't normally get angry. But when does the but come? But when someone tells lies, I get angry. Someone tells lies and you speak with anger. Who is right out of the two? And I think that's the big thing, that I can never justify my anger. You know, even if that one's lying and whatever the other is doing, I cannot justify my anger. It's something that Mohini Ben has been sharing about recently, you know, he's saying you can see the weakness. So don't like confront the weakness head on, because that doesn't help. She said, always, you see it, then you think about, okay, what's the virtue that's needed here? And you rather offer that virtue, embody that virtue to counteract that weakness. So if you see someone lying, you be more transparent, you be more honest, and that will inspire that soul in a way. But if you tell them you're lying, they're going to make up a big story. And so it doesn't get us anywhere when we confront weaknesses. Upset is anger. Upset is anger. Yeah, yeah. You see, anger has many faces. So sometimes some of us will shout it out and some of us sulk. That's also a form of anger, you know, but it's the same story. Yeah. Irritability is also anger. Sometimes we say, I don't get angry, but I get frustrated. It's also anger, you know. So it's this whole thing of recognizing that according to our nature, we express the vices in different ways. One way doesn't make it better than the other. It's recognizing the root is still the vice, you know. So some of our personalities are more extrovert, so we tend to blast it out, you know. And some of us are more introvert in terms of our personality. And it's how Mike George puts it, we implode. We don't explode, we implode. So we put the anger inside, we sulk, we ignore, we reject, we suppress, but it's still anger. And it's very important to recognize what is my default method of dealing with this vice, because only then can I, you know, resolve it. Because some people think because they don't explode, they're okay, but it's not. You eventually get sick, or one day it gets so much, then it explodes. Yeah. It was in, I think it was Daddy Janki that once shared a story, Sakar Baba's days. And there was one sister who was a bit rough in her way of dealing with things. And another sister was very sweet and whatever. And Baba said, in a way, this one, he gave a lot of love to the one who was a bit rough. And Daddy asked, but Baba, this one is so sweet, you know, whatever. Baba said, this one knows what her weaknesses are. So she's working on them. The other doesn't know, because the persona is more introvert, more refined, more polite. But then sometimes it's difficult to see what the real work is needed. So both ways, we must check and recognize what is our coping mechanism and purify it. So Baba's saying, it should not be that you prove the truth and yet you do not have any manners. Many children say, I don't normally get angry, but when someone tells lies, I get angry. Someone tells lies and you speak with anger. Who is right out of the two? Those who prove the truth will always have manners. Some are very clever and say, I don't get angry, but my voice is loud. My voice is sharp. With the instruments of science, one can reduce or increase the sound. So can you not, with the power of silence, reduce or raise your sound? You should have a bit of control. Your tape recorder and mic are better than you in that their sound can be reduced or increased. So check this. Along with the truth are their manners. If there aren't any manners, there is no truth. Let the royalty of purity be constantly visible externally. It would not be that you have royalty internally and that is not visible externally. If it is inside, it would definitely be visible outside. No one can hide the royalty of truth. Do not remain incognito in this. Some say, see how clever we are. Some say that they remain incognito because they are incognito effort makers. However, just as no one can hide the sun, so no one can hide the sun of truth. Nor can any reason or individual hide it. The truth is always the truth. You don't have to prove it. Truth always reveals itself. It reveals itself. So the power of truth is the greatest power of all. Truth cannot be proved by trying to prove it. The power of truth automatically has the attainment of being proved. If anyone tries to prove the truth, then that proving becomes stubbornness. Therefore, truth is self-evident. There is no need to prove it. Do you understand? What do you have to show in the year of the Pasya? The personality and the royalty of purity. Acha. So the letters, the love and remembrance of effort, the service news, and the spiritual conversations of the heart of all the children from this land and abroad have reached and are reaching Bab Dada. Bab Dada gives love and remembrance to all the children personally by name. Each of you should think that you have been remembered first. Because Bab Dada gives the response of love and remembrance in the Avyakt form at that same moment. However, using the corporeal way, you write a corporeal letter. That is, you send love and remembrance. This is why Bab Dada gives love and remembrance in return in a corporeal way. Bab Dada knows that there is and there will be very good zeal and enthusiasm everywhere for tapasya and service through vibrations of your minds. Now keep even deeper aspects filled with significance in front of you and continue to make your efforts and service deeper and greater. All the children who are personally sitting in front of Baba now or who are in front of the Father in the subtle form, all such children who are constantly in front of Bapdada, that is, who are constantly with the Father, remain in his eyes, on his lips, and in his mind. And the Father remains in their eyes, on their lips, and in their minds. Baba's being so romantic there, hey? So we remain in Baba's eyes and Baba remains in our eyes. To such elevated souls who are merged in remembrance, to the souls who constantly stay in the reality and royalty of purity, to the souls who remain constantly full and complete in their minds, Bapdada's love, remembrance, and namaste. And then Baba was meeting a group. Do you experience yourselves to be multi-million times fortunate souls? No other souls have such elevated fortune in the whole cycle. No matter how well known souls are, what is their fortune compared to your fortune? Remember, Nats was looking at a book with those who have high IQs, and she was looking at this, and Jayanti Ben was around, and she said, "They have high IQs, but they don't know God." So, what's your fortune? So that's why Baba is saying, no other souls have such elevated fortune in the whole cycle. No matter how well-known souls are, what is their fortune compared to your fortune? Theirs is temporary fortune, and you Brahmin souls have imperishable fortune. It is not just for this one birth, but for birth after birth. To belong to the Father means to receive the inheritance of fortune as a right. So you have received your right, have you not? To be a child means to have a right, an inheritance. Do you have the intoxication of a right, or does it go up and down? You have been coming down for half a cycle, so what do you want to do now? Do you want to walk, climb up, or fly? What do you want to do? Something that flies does not stop anywhere in the middle. If you stop, you will come down. If you stop even for a short time and then fly, how would you reach your destination? Therefore, continue to fly. This whole thing, keep moving forward. No matter what, just keep moving forward. Don't stop. However, who can continue to fly all the time? What's the prerequisite to fly? Contentment, yeah. Sorry? Constant remembrance, Jyoti. Acceptance. Changing your frequency. Okay, we're getting now very sophisticated. We're elevated. Yeah. Effort, because Baba's keeping it simple. However, who can continue to fly all the time? Those who are light. So you are light, are you not? Or do you have a burden of your body, mind, or relationships? When there's heaviness, I can't fly. If you do not have any burden, why do you stop? Something with a burden comes down and something light always stays up above. All of you are double light, are you not? One of my trips to Madhuban, and I was meeting Dadi, and Dadi said, now you must be triple light, not just double light, triple light. I said, oh, okay. Blessing. May you be a complete trustee and finish the weakness of any consciousness of mind and experience fullness. So may you be a complete trustee and finish the weakness of any consciousness of mind and experience fullness. If you live as an instrument according to the Father's Srimad, then you neither have my family nor my center. You are a trustee while living with your family and while at the center. It is the Father's center, not mine. Therefore, it is always a treasure store, bandari of Father Shiva, and a bandara kitchen of Father Brahma. By having this awareness, you will experience fullness. If you have any consciousness of mind, there won't be anything left in the bandara or the bandari. If there is anything lacking in any task, the reason for it is that you have the consciousness of mind, instead of it being the Father's. That is, impurity is mixed with it. So any kind of a burden or heaviness, it's something to check, There's some kind of attachment that's mixed in here, because that's what's creating the feeling of burden. So we have responsibilities, but we have to check our relationship with the responsibility. If it's making me heavy, then there's some kind of mixture there that I have to look at. Need to really create that consciousness of being a trustee, then I will remain light. Yet I hold the responsibility. I don't abandon it, but there's no heaviness. Yeah. Slogan: in order to become equal to the Father, make all three, your understanding, your desires, and your doing, equal. All three has to be. So make your understanding, your desires, and your doing equal. It's, I think, a nice way. It's like, let there be integrity. When we talk of integrity, my thinking, my feeling, my doing, my speaking, it's all in the same line. And then there's the point for this month, Brahmachari. Today is the 17th. Yeah? So a Brahmachari is one through whose every action, the actions of Father Brahma are visible. Your words are equal to the words of Father Brahma. You're getting up, walking around, seeing and moving around are all equal. Father Brahma created his sanskaras, and he also reminded us when leaving his body. What did Baba remind us? incorporeal, viceless, and egoless. Let these be the natural sanskaras of Brahmins. Then you would be called Brahma Achari. Let there be newness in your sanskaras and nature, just like the fathers. It is not my nature, but the Father's nature is my nature. Shanti. That's a very deep aspect in a way, you know, that even my nature, when we say my nature, I like put a box around myself in a way. But what Baba's nature is should be my nature. And what is God's core nature? As he put it today, truth, benevolence, and the beautiful one, the virtuous one. So that's Baba's nature, that should be our nature. Acha. So let's take a minute of silence together, and then we'll have some revision of Murli, but I think the Zoom will have their own revision. So Kapu, you can just log us off from Zoom after a minute of yoga. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Shanti.